When most people talk about attraction, especially in the early stages of dating, the conversation almost always circles back to appearance. We hear it everywhere: how to dress, how to style your hair, the makeup tips that will wow him, or how to be physically desirable. And while it's true that physical appearance can initially catch someone's eye, it's far from the whole story. What many don't realize is that men, consciously or not, are picking up on things that go way beyond the surface. They're observing subtle behaviors, emotional cues, and subconscious signals that go completely under the radar, but play a massive role in attraction. Men might not always be able to articulate what exactly drew them in, but if you were to rewind the moment in slow motion, you'd see it wasn't just about how you looked. It was about how you made them feel in that moment. Maybe it was the way you carried yourself when you walked in. Maybe it was your energy, open, light, unbothered. Maybe it was the confidence you exuded when you spoke to someone across the room, or the way you laughed with full presence, not needing anyone's validation. Those are the things that truly make someone magnetic, and that's the twist. Men do notice looks, but it's the layer beneath your appearance that actually makes a lasting impression. Think about it. They meet attractive people all the time. Especially in today's world where beauty is everywhere, on social media, in real life, online dating apps. Being attractive alone is not a standout quality anymore. What sets someone apart is what comes with that attractiveness: the vibe, the energy, the confidence, the authenticity. That's the real substance. That's what sticks. In fact, when men describe the moment they felt unexpectedly drawn to someone, it's rarely because she had flawless makeup or wore the perfect outfit. It's usually something deeper. Something like she just had this energy about her, or there was something really cool about the way she talked to everyone. They notice the way you light up a conversation, the way you make others feel around you, the way you react when you're not being watched. These things make an impression, and they do it fast. Within seconds of meeting you, a man is already taking in all of these signals. Here's something even more interesting. Men notice when you're comfortable with yourself. That one quality, more than anything, creates attraction. A woman who's genuinely at ease in her own skin, not trying to force an impression, not chasing attention, but simply owning her space, that's powerful. And it's rare. It's not something you can fake. And it's not something you can cover up with a filter or a carefully curated image. That kind of authenticity can't be bought or rehearsed. It just is. And when a man sees it, it breaks through the noise. So yes, while physical appearance might get a moment of attention, it's everything else that determines whether that moment becomes a memory or just passes by. Men notice how you treat others. They notice how you handle pressure. They notice when you're present in the moment or when you're trying too hard to impress. They notice the pauses, the laughter, the spark behind your eyes, even when they don't realize they're doing it. In short, real attraction starts where surface-level beauty ends. The most attractive women are not necessarily the most perfect-looking ones. They're the ones who walk into a room and shift the energy, not by trying to be noticed, but by simply being rooted in who they are. And men always notice that. That's the kind of presence that lingers long after you've left the room. That's what makes someone unforgettable. Confidence isn't about being the loudest person in the room, the one who takes up all the space, or the one with the flashiest outfit. It's not about being overly bold or pretending you have everything figured out. Real confidence is quieter, more grounded, and more powerful, and men notice it instantly. In fact, it's one of the first things that grabs a man's attention, even before he fully understands why he's drawn to you. It's not something you say, it's something you radiate. Confidence is magnetic because it signals something universal, that you're comfortable with yourself. When a woman walks into a room with a sense of ease, like she belongs, not in a cocky way, but in a way that says, I don't need to prove anything to anyone, that energy shifts the entire space. People feel it. Men especially feel it, and they gravitate toward it. because it sets you apart from the crowd. A woman who is confident isn't trying to impress everyone. She's simply expressing herself. She's not chasing validation. She knows her value doesn't increase or decrease based on who's around. That's incredibly attractive because it creates a sense of emotional safety. It shows that you're not going to crumble under pressure or change who you are just to fit someone else's expectations. And to a man who's looking for something real, that kind of stability is rare and refreshing. It's also important to understand that confidence isn't about being perfect. In fact, trying to appear perfect is usually a sign of insecurity. Real confidence means being okay with your imperfections. It's laughing at yourself when you mess up. It's being able to admit when you don't know something. It's showing up anyway, even if you're nervous or unsure. That kind of rawness, that kind of realness, it's powerful beyond words. It tells the world and the man in front of you, I'm enough as I am, and that message is unforgettable. Men notice how you carry yourself, how you sit, how you walk, how you talk. Is your posture relaxed? Do your words flow with ease? Are you present in the moment or constantly second, guessing yourself? These things may seem small, but they paint a picture that men pick up on quickly. A confident woman doesn't over-explain herself. She doesn't apologize for taking up space. She speaks when she has something to say, and she listens with purpose. That balance of self-assurance and openness is magnetic. Another thing men notice, how you handle rejection or setbacks. Confidence isn't just visible when things are going well. It shows up when things don't go your way. When a confident woman gets ignored or passed over, she doesn't spiral. She shrugs it off and moves forward. That resilience is unbelievably attractive. It shows emotional maturity, and it signals that you're not reliant on anyone else to feel good about yourself. In dating, confidence changes everything. It allows you to engage without overthinking, flirt without fear, and express interest without obsessing over the outcome. You don't need to manipulate or play games because you trust that what you bring to the table is enough. You know that if someone doesn't recognize your value, that's a reflection of them, not you. And here's the most beautiful part. Confidence isn't a trait you're born with, it's something you build. Every time you show up authentically, every time you stand by your values, every time you honor your own worth, you're reinforcing that inner confidence, and men will notice. They always do. Because in a world full of people trying to be someone else, a woman who's unapologetically herself is a rare force, and that kind of confidence, it doesn't just attract attention, it commands it. Let's talk about something subtle. Something almost invisible, something most people overlook. But men notice it more than you think. Micro-expressions. These are the quick, tiny flashes of emotion that cross your face, the slight lift of an eyebrow, the way your eyes widen when you're surprised, the twitch of a smile, or the moment your gaze softens when you're touched by something. These split-second reactions say more than any perfectly rehearsed line ever could, and here's the secret. Men are constantly, even unconsciously, picking up on these cues. He may not be able to explain what he saw or why it stuck with him, but something in those fleeting moments speaks directly to a man's subconscious. Your body language, your facial reactions, your energy, they tell a story before words even enter the picture. Think about it. Have you ever laughed just a little too hard at someone's joke because you wanted them to like you? Or tried to keep a neutral face when you were actually nervous, only to end up looking disinterested instead? That's the power and the danger of micro-expressions. They reveal the truth, not what we want to show, but what we actually feel, and men notice. They notice when your smile is genuine, when it reaches your eyes and feels alive. They notice when your interest is real, because there's a different energy when you're truly present in a conversation. They also notice hesitation, like the millisecond pause before answering a question, the flicker of doubt, or a glance that lingers just a bit too long. These are not things we can fake, and that's what makes them powerful. Micro expressions give away so much: attraction, awkwardness, interest, boredom, joy, curiosity, even insecurity. But here's the thing: this isn't about being on all the time or trying to manage every single movement. That's exhausting, and it never works. It's about being aware of what you're projecting and learning to lead with authenticity. When you're genuinely engaged, your micro expressions work for you. They become like little sparkles of charm, those barely noticeable moments that leave a man wondering, what is it about her? It could be the way you smile when he talks about something he's passionate about, or how you tilt your head slightly when you're intrigued, or the way you light up, not for him, but for yourself, when you talk about something you love. This is where real connection happens. When a man senses that you're really there, emotionally present and responsive, he feels it. And it's those little nonverbal cues that make him feel understood, seen, even desired. That's the moment his interest deepens, not just in how you look, but in who you are. And let's be real, we all have moments where we try to control our expressions, especially when we're nervous or trying to protect ourselves. But the most attractive moments are often the unguarded ones, the little bursts of laughter, the spontaneous reactions, the glimmer of curiosity or affection you didn't even know you showed. That's the stuff men... Remember, that's the stuff they play back in their minds later. So if you've ever thought, do men really notice the little things? The answer is yes, especially the little things that aren't so obvious, especially the ones you didn't mean to show. The good news: you don't need to do anything extra. You don't need to manufacture reactions or exaggerate anything. Just be fully present, be open. Let those little expressions come through. They're not flaws to hide. They're windows into the real you, and that realness, that's what captivates. In the end, it's not about being polished. It's about being felt, and your micro expressions, they speak louder than words ever could. One of the most surprising things men notice isn't how you act when you're with them. It's how you carry yourself when you're not. Picture this: you're across the room at a social event, chatting casually with someone, maybe sipping your drink, completely unaware that anyone is paying attention, but someone is, and what he's seeing in that unfiltered moment might just be the most attractive version of you. There's something incredibly powerful about watching someone just be. No performance, no trying, no people pleasing, just being fully themselves. That's when your energy is at its most natural, and men notice that. They notice how you carry yourself when you're in your own world, when you're laughing with a friend, dancing without needing a partner, or standing alone but clearly not lonely. That kind of independence, that's magnetic. What it really comes down to is self-possession, a woman who's comfortable in her own presence, who doesn't need a spotlight or an audience to feel valuable, exudes a quiet kind of confidence that hits differently. She doesn't fidget, she doesn't scan the room looking for validation, she's not glued to her phone to avoid awkwardness. Instead, she looks centered, like she knows who she is, and when a man sees that, he doesn't just feel intrigued, he feels respect. It's a subtle thing, but it's powerful. When you're alone, the mask tends to drop. You're not putting on a show, and that's when your essence really shows through. Your real posture, your real presence, your real vibe. Men aren't just seeing how you interact with others, they're watching how you exist with yourself. Are you standing tall, relaxed, grounded? Do you look like someone who enjoys her own company? Because that's rare. Most people, without realizing it, give off anxiety when they're by themselves. They try to hide it with distractions, scrolling, faking busyness, scanning the crowd. But when a woman can just be, without needing attention to validate her worth, that's a whole different level of attractive. And here's something important. How you carry yourself when you're alone is a reflection of your internal world. If you're at peace inside, it shows on the outside. That ease, that soft confidence, that quiet self-assurance, it's not something you can fake, and it doesn't scream for attention. It pulls attention, because in a world where everyone's trying to be seen, a woman who's already seen herself stands out. It's also incredibly attractive to a man who's looking for more than surface-level connection. He's not just looking at how beautiful you are or how fun you can be in conversation. He's thinking, could I build something real with this person? And when he sees that you don't rely on constant interaction or external validation to feel good, it tells him she has her own life, she's emotionally self-sufficient. She's grounded, that's rare, that's valuable, so the next time you find yourself in a moment where you're alone, don't shrink, don't overthink, own the space you're in, whether it's standing in line at the coffee shop, sitting by yourself at a party, or walking through a crowd. Know that the way you carry yourself in those between moments is saying more than you think, because men don't just notice what you do with them. They notice how you move through the world without them. And when that movement is filled with grace, ease, and quiet confidence, that's unforgettable. There's something incredibly attractive that a lot of people overlook: boundaries. And yes, men absolutely notice them, not just when they're enforced, but in how you carry yourself, how you respond to pressure, and how you navigate connection. A woman with strong, clear boundaries doesn't need to say it out loud. She shows it in how she moves, how she speaks, how she reacts. She knows what she will and won't accept, and she doesn't flinch when it's time to stand by that. And that is powerful. Men feel it. They might not consciously think, wow, she has excellent emotional boundaries, but they feel that something about you is different, respectable, unshakable. A woman with boundaries isn't defensive, closed off, or cold. In fact, she's the opposite. She's open, but she's selective. She's warm, but not available to just anyone. She gives energy, but not endlessly. There's a quiet clarity about her that says, I value myself, and I don't compromise that just to be liked. That energy is rare and incredibly attractive to the right kind of man. Why? Because boundaries communicate value. When you have clear standards about how you want to be treated, how fast you want to move, what you will or won't tolerate, you're signaling that your time and energy are not cheap, that you are not desperate for attention, that you know what you bring to the table, and you don't need to beg anyone to see it. And here's the beautiful twist: boundaries don't push good men away. They pull them closer, because a confident, emotionally available man wants to know what matters to you. He wants to know where your lines are, what you stand for, and how to build trust with you. Weak boundaries confuse men. Strong boundaries guide them. Let's be honest, some people won't like your boundaries. That's a good thing, because the people who are only in it for ego boosts, control, or superficial validation, they'll fall off quick when they realize they can't cross certain lines with you. And that's the point. Boundaries are not about being guarded. They're about being clear. The filter that keeps the wrong energy out and makes space for the right energy to stay in. Men notice when you say no without guilt, when you decline a date that doesn't feel right, when you take your time getting to know someone instead of rushing into closeness just to keep the peace, when you express your needs without apologizing for them. All of these small actions, they send a huge message. You're emotionally intelligent, you respect yourself, and you expect the same from anyone you let into your life. And don't forget, boundaries aren't just about saying no. They're also about saying yes with intention, saying yes to someone because you want to, not because you're afraid of being judged or abandoned. Saying yes because they've earned your trust, not because they pressured you into it. That's strength. That's high value. In the dating world, where so many people are trying to be easygoing or chill just to seem more appealing, a woman with boundaries is a breath of fresh air. She's not rude. She's not difficult. She's just clear. And men who are serious about connection, who are ready to show up with respect and consistency, they notice, they admire it, and most importantly, they remember it. So if you've ever wondered whether setting boundaries makes you less attractive, think again. The opposite is true. When you protect your time, your heart, your peace, you're not only showing strength, you're showing that you know your worth. And trust me, men see that, and the right ones, they respect the hell out of it. In a world full of filters, highlight reels, and people trying to be what they think others want, authenticity is a superpower, and men notice it instantly. There's something electric about a woman who is unapologetically herself, not trying to be the cool girl. and not trying to shrink her opinions just to be more agreeable, not pretending to be low maintenance when she's actually thoughtful, layered, and has real depth. There's a bold kind of magic in someone who is just real, and men feel it. They feel it when you're being true to yourself, and they also feel it when you're performing, even subtly. Performance might grab attention, but authenticity holds it. Let's get one thing clear. Being authentic doesn't mean being unfiltered to the point of chaos. It means being aligned. It means what you say matches what you feel. It means how you show up on the outside reflects who you are on the inside. That kind of congruence is rare, and it's powerful, because it builds trust. It says, "This is who I am. You don't have to guess. You don't have to decode me." So many people get caught up in overthinking. What should I say? What would he like? How do I act more attractive? But here's the truth. You don't need to be someone else to be magnetic. You just need to stop hiding who you already are. When a man sees a woman being fully herself, whether she's laughing at her own dumb joke, nerding out over something random, or showing vulnerability without fear of judgment, he doesn't just admire it, he feels safe with it. Because if you're real with yourself, it tells him you'll be real with him. That's how emotional connection actually starts. Performance, on the other hand, might get you some attention up front, but it creates emotional distance. When you're inauthentic, even in small ways, people can feel it. They may not be able to explain why they're unsure about you, but something doesn't quite land, and that something is often a lack of alignment between who you are and who you're pretending to be. Authenticity means embracing your quirks, your pace, your opinions, your humor, your preferences, even if they're different from his, especially if they're different. It shows confidence. It says, "I like me, and you don't have to agree with everything I say for me to keep liking me." That level of self-trust, that's not just attractive. It's grounding, and it makes you stand out. Men also notice when you express emotion authentically. You're not trying to manipulate. You're not withholding. You're not putting on a chill face when something clearly bothered you. You're expressing truthfully, but with grace. That tells a man you're emotionally mature and emotionally available, which, by the way, is incredibly rare. Here's what else authenticity does. It creates space for him to be authentic, too. When you drop the mask, it gives him permission to do the same, and that's when real connection starts. That's when the superficial stuff falls away, because now it's two real people showing up, not two polished, edited versions of themselves trying to impress. So if you've ever wondered whether you're being too much or not enough, stop. Start asking instead, am I being true? That's what actually matters. That's what resonates. That's what lingers in his mind long after the conversation ends. Because in a world full of people trying to impress, the person who's just being is unforgettable. Authenticity doesn't just attract attention. It creates intimacy, and that's what turns interest into something real. Let's talk about something that goes deeper than looks, deeper than words, deeper than anything you can post, text, or say out loud. Men notice it, even if they don't have the language for it, even if they couldn't describe it if you asked. They feel it. Your energy walks into a room before you do. It lingers after you've gone, and sometimes it says more in a moment than your words could say in an hour. Energy is the unspoken, the frequency you're moving at. It's the emotional atmosphere you carry around with you. When a woman walks into a room full of warmth, ease, and groundedness, people turn to look without even knowing why, and men especially notice, not because she's loud or flashy or trying to be seen, but because she's felt. There's a difference. It's not about being high energy or bubbly all the time. That's not what we're talking about. This isn't about putting on a fake vibe to appear attractive. It's about being connected to your truth in that moment. It's about showing up in your body, in your breath, in your full presence, and owning whatever space you're in. Whether that's soft, fiery, playful, calm, passionate, quiet. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it's real. Men are instinctual creatures. They notice tension. They notice peace. They notice when your smile doesn't match your spirit, or when you're saying all the right things, but your energy is screaming, guarded, or unsure. They may not call it out, but they'll feel that disconnect. And that feeling, that's what they walk away with. Your energy tells a story. It says, "I trust myself," or "I'm anxious." It says, "I know who I am," or I'm trying to be who you want. It says I'm open, I'm afraid, I'm confident, or I'm performing. And because men are constantly scanning for cues, especially the emotionally aware ones, your energy becomes the signal they follow, often more than your words. Ever wonder why someone seems drawn to you when you're relaxed in your element, just being? That's not a coincidence. That's your energy saying, I'm here. I'm good. I don't need anything from you. I'm full already, and that kind of energy, it pulls the right people in without force, without game, playing without manipulation. Now flip it. Think of the times when you've been trying too hard, trying to impress, trying to please, trying to keep things from falling apart. What was your energy like then? It probably felt a little off, maybe even frantic. And chances are the other person felt it, even if they didn't say so. Because again, your energy is louder than your words. But here's the beautiful part. You have control over the energy you carry, not by faking it, but by getting real with yourself, by checking in. Am I grounded? Am I in alignment with myself? Am I showing up from a place of fear or fullness? That's how you shift your energy, not by pretending to be happy or chill, but by returning to your truth and letting that radiate outward. The most captivating people aren't always the loudest. They're the most present. They're the ones who show up in their body, in their truth, with nothing to prove. That's the kind of energy men remember. That's what makes them lean in and want more. That's what makes them feel you, even in silence.